This is the National D-Day Memorial in Bedford, Virginia. It was built to commemorate those who gave their lives on D-Day. The grounds for the monument take visitors on an archival journey through World War II and the politics and perils that embody the time period. Paying tribute to the men and women who served their country in one of its most dire battles, the D-Day National Memorial creates a solemn atmosphere for veterans and visitors alike to gain the insight and learn more about the events that shaped our nation's and our world's history. But before I talk about the memorial, let me talk about what happened that day. On June 6, 1944, the Allied forces stormed the beach of Normandy. It was the largest amphibious invasion the world had ever seen.
On June the 6th, 1944, the biggest combined land, sea and air operation of all time set off from bases in southern England to free Europe from its Nazi invaders. D-Day, it was called for no obvious or political reason, but in fact it was the start of the final phase of the Second World War. The Supreme Commander, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, called on resistance groups on the continent to rise against the Germans and help the Allied forces.
This landing is but the opening phase of the campaign in Western Europe. Great battles lie ahead. I call upon all who love freedom to stand with us now. Keep your faith staunch. Our arms are resolute. Together we shall achieve victory.
At first, the Germans thought the invasion would come further north along the French coast around Calais. They believed the Normandy landing was a feint aimed at drawing their armor away from where the main assault would be launched. As a result, they held back several divisions, giving the Allies on the beaches an easier run. The problem for the Allied commanders was whether they could bring up their reinforcements faster from the sea than the Germans could on land. Normally, land-based forces would have the advantage, but in the event, it was the Allied air superiority that made the difference, slowing down German troop movements as they came up to reinforce their beleaguered forces on the beachhead. By the end of the first 24 hours, Allied forces had penetrated several miles inland. The great invasion gamble that could have gone so badly wrong had paid off. Now the Allied troops were faced with the bitter 9-month fight across France into Germany to the heart of Berlin itself.
This is a map of where the Allied forces attacked. There were 5 beaches. Utah and Omaha were assaulted by the U.S., Gold and Sword by the British, and Juneau by the Canadian. Although the invasion was a success, there were many casualties. The Allies lost nearly 12,000 men.
Among those who assaulted the beaches were 34 young men from the small Virginia town of Bedford. After 20 months of arduous training, their company of 200 men was chosen from among the 15,000 GIs in the 29th Infantry Division to spearhead the attack at Omaha Beach. By the end of D-Day, 19 of the company's 34 Bedford boys were dead. 2 more Bedford soldiers died later in the Normandy campaign, as did 2 others assigned to different infantry companies. Bedford's population in 1944 was about 3,200. Proportionally, this community suffered the nation's severest D-Day losses. Recognizing Bedford as representative of all American communities whose citizen soldiers participated in the D-Day invasion, Congress chose Bedford as the location for the National D-Day Memorial.
Well, the idea originally came from a D-Day veteran himself who retired from his job and wanted to go somewhere to commemorate or remember those that he lost during the invasion. He was really disappointed. There seemed to be nothing in the country that really was dedicated to the D-Day invasion, the Normandy invasion. But what was amazing about him is that he never gave up on this idea. Many people told him that it would never come to fruition, that people didn't want to remember, and he refused to believe that. And years later, we have the National D-Day Memorial, which was officially dedicated on June 6 of 2001 by President George W. Bush. It is a very large site. It's 88 acres. The footprint of the actual memorial itself is on about 9 acres of that 88 acres. We have a wide array of programs that we do to bring attention and awareness, not only to the Normandy invasion, but to D-Day in the context, the larger context of World War II. So throughout the year, we have our annual commemorative events, such as Memorial Day and Veterans Day, and of course D-Day itself, June the 6th every year, Veterans Day. And then we do a number of other events throughout the year to, again, highlight those contributions and sacrifices by those from the greatest generation. We have Family Day events. We have day camps for kids. We do a lot of school programs for children as well, where they come through and they learn about the sacrifices that were made on the home front. They get to feel the equipment the soldiers carried. They get to tour the memorial and meet veterans. June the 6th, we had 35 D-Day veterans who came from all over the country just to visit us on that very special day. We have a lot of veterans who are volunteers here, including a number of D-Day veterans who give tours. And that's always especially gratifying for people who come here and visit the memorial, that they actually get to enjoy a tour by a veteran who was there. And so that's always a bonus for people. So we have a number of World War II veterans and D-Day veterans. Not as many as we used to. Unfortunately, those numbers are dwindling. And I think that's why it's more important than ever for us to make sure we preserve their stories and preserve the lessons and the legacy of D-Day and World War II for that next generation.